Welcome to this edition of When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine, a discussion of sustainable living and what that means to you and me. I'm Jay Warmke.
And I'm Annie Warmke.
You certainly are. And today we're going to talk about socially responsible investment or using your dollars to make sense. And it makes a lot more sense when I write it out because it's S-E-N.
I don't know what to say. I'm worried about you.
Anyway, we're joined by Eli Flournoy. And Eli, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Okay, great. And I was going to introduce you as with the Sugarbush Foundation, which I know you are, but you're so much more than that. So apparently, why don't you let us know all those things you do and why you're our resident expert on socially responsible investing?
Yes. So I am a director of the Sugarbush Foundation, but as an investor, I, along with my family, we decided to focus our money and join the so-called Wall Street to Main Street movement and look for ways to invest locally. So socially responsible investing to us was about finding a way to responsibly put our investments and put our assets to work in local communities. So we're really interested in working on sustainable economic development and supporting businesses in southeastern Ohio. And we decided to create a for-profit company called Sugarbush Valley Impact Investments in order to place investments and give technical support and make connections for startup businesses in the areas of renewable energy, zero waste industries, local foods, and rural broadband. So that's what we're up to.
But aren't you in sunny Atlanta?
I do live in Atlanta, but I grew up in Athens, Ohio, and my father and my sister live on the 400-acre farm where I grew up in southeastern Ohio, and so we're involved in a lot of activities, environmental and sustainable activities on the farm, and trying to develop find other things that we can do that will create jobs and not harm the environment, and try to find non-extractive business models to support.
So if you were giving the elevator talk, how do you differentiate socially responsible investment, or I guess it's also referred to environmentally social investment, whatever? How do you differentiate that from just being a regular investor?
Well, for us, there are two components to that. One is that we're very focused on local impact. So we want the investments that we make to have an impact on the local area that we're focused on. In this case, southeastern Ohio, and we want the businesses that we support to not negatively affect the environment. We want to create sustainable jobs, have good business practices about the jobs that they create. And I mentioned, we're looking for so-called non-extractive models, particularly in this Appalachian region, which has a history of extractive industries like timber and coal. Now natural gas is looking like an extractive industry. Even business models like Walmart is an extractive industry, in that it's a large corporate entity that's coming in, that is tapping into the resources of the local community and not leaving the majority of the benefit of those resources in the community. It's not recycling them into the community. So we're looking specifically for business models that are non-extractive, that will help keep recycling the benefit and growing the benefit of things locally. So solar is an excellent example of the kind of local solar where the benefit of the energy is felt locally. The benefit, if you have opportunity for local ownership of the of the solar panels and the solar infrastructure, then there's even more benefit that is kept locally, and then local jobs are created to install the solar and manage the solar processes locally as well.
So in other words, when you have funds that you have invested, obviously, and to gain some kind of return off of. And so those are the areas that you're looking at when you decide where you're going to invest the money from the family fund.
Yeah, so we're looking for so-called social return on our investment, in addition to the financial return. So yes, we're a for-profit company, but we want to have we want to have benefits socially, environmentally, come from our investments as well. So when we're doing due diligence on companies, deciding whether or not to invest in them or give a loan to them, we're looking at the projections and the track record of the company, if they have one, as it relates to the impact that they're having on the social and environment factors as well.
And by invest, what do you mean?
We do equity investments sometimes. So we'll take a stake in a company if they're seeking that type of fundraising. So we might.
So you're a socially responsible Shark Tank.
Yeah, exactly. And much nicer though, much nicer.
Good to know.
Yeah, so we do equity investments, we do loans, and sometimes the support that we give to businesses is not directly financial at all. We try to serve as connectors to help them either find other more appropriate funders for their projects, so connect them with to have relationships with banks or traditional financial institutions, or other funders, or help them to find further philanthropic money, free money that might help them grow, or technical support. A lot of startup companies, entrepreneurs, often, it's rare for them to be very, very good in all the different areas that they need to be good at in order to grow their business. So if they need, CFO or finance type help, or legal type help, we help to connect them. We're working together closely with Ohio University and some of the local business development services organizations. We help to get them, trying to figure out what kind of support they really need, not just money.
Well, I was going to ask you too. Do you get into any policy issues? I mean, you mentioned working with the university, but with government, and what prompted that in my mind, you were talking about solar jobs. And when I talk to politicians and the like, they always like to say, well, we are a coal mining region. And I was just reading some documentation, and actually there are 8 times as many jobs in solar in the state of Ohio than there are in coal. So, I'll tell them, no, you're in a solar energy region. And they look at me like I'm speaking Swahili. So, how do you get that message across?
Yeah, I think that private investors and business people can have a really, really profound impact on policy, because just by being present and putting our money where our mouth is, we're saying to policymakers, look, if you make the right policy investments into this region, or into this sector like solar, we're ready to put our capital to work, and we're looking for these types of investments. So it's to your benefit, it's to the economic benefit of the region to have a policy that supports workforce training and helping coal jobs transition into solar jobs. All of those things, we can play an important role in saying, we essentially we have matching funds. We have the local funds that are waiting to invest in these types of businesses and job creators in the region, if only the government will help to provide some jumpstart, some subsidy to help the industry get going and create more opportunities for investments.
I noticed that you've added broadband to your
Yes.
list of groups, and
Yay.
Southeast Ohio is and many parts of the Midwest in particular are rural. But here's the thing: we need you to do something.
Do it quick.
I know.
Come on, man.
We're like so tired. The people of rural America. Well, we look at the electoral map, and you'll see what most people think. And it is that you've left us out of the story, not meaning you particularly, but we must have broadband. And if you have money, money talks. Don't you have some lobbyists that could work on the rural electric co-ops and the people at the higher levels that make decisions? I mean, that works for everybody else.
I know we do. We have to figure that out. And the reason why we added rural broadband into our list of things that we want to invest in is because we realize we can't do any of the other stuff until we have broadband. So it's a really, really big issue. In fact, it's the biggest issue, because none of the other economic stuff can really, really meaningfully get going until there is universal access to broadband. So we're looking right now. We're trying to figure out what the right strategies are, and kind of there are so many different local and regional and state and federal entities that are working on this issue, and it's been very difficult to kind of get everybody's head together and get agreement on a particular strategy. But I do think that lobbying is going to be critical, and it's going to be necessary, particularly as we go into this period of expected enormous investment into infrastructure in the United States. And so, rural broadband has to be a central component to that. There's just, it's just shameful where it stands right now, and it can't continue. So
we're
trying. We're trying
to officially invite you to come to Jesus Meeting with Guernsey Muskingum Electric Co-op and our local Chamber of Commerce, and talk about money, because that's the one thing that they don't have any confidence. And we also have a bill before the Ohio legislature that's been languishing for almost 2 years that would give money to electric co-ops. So there could be a really great partnership there between what you do and the co-op and the government. But we need somebody that can talk from a different perspective than just me. I mean, I've been in front of the legislature, and it didn't change anything, but just got the electric the cable provider to show up the next day and say they were going to give us broadband, basically, and of course they didn't.
For some reason, politicians are interested in money. I have yet to figure that one out.
Well, we're all interested in money, Jay, but the reality is we need somebody higher up the scale to do something.
Well, we're pushing you into a lobbying role, but before we get you back into the investment discussion, I want to remind everybody that you're listening to When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine with Jay and Annie Warmke, and we're joined today by Eli Flournoy, reminding you once again, it is indeed the end of the world as we know it.
And thank God, I'm waiting, really.
So, Eli, you're going to change the world. So, I guess what we're doing is, let's say I've got this brilliant idea. I think I'm being very socially responsible. So, what's the process you go through to evaluate whether something's worthy? Because regardless of how much money you have, if you just gave it away, it would run out eventually. So
right.
You need to come up with a template that actually is sustainable in and of itself.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think we have my family has we have a philanthropic strategy, which and that is that's important, and that's very that's very necessary. But it's critical to have a to have a business model strategy, which enables enables companies and partners that we're working with to grow. And so we need to have a return. Everybody needs to be able to to make money, to have a job, to pay for the things that they need and they want in life. So we go through the sort of normal venture capital sort of due diligence process, where we're reviewing each investment opportunity, reviewing each company and their management team, and we're just expanding the range of that analysis, that due diligence, to include social and environmental criteria for return on our investment, in addition to financial measurements. So, but we have a very, we have a very formal process that we go through, and a checklist and scorecards based on all these criteria, and if the company checks out and they have it looks like they have good prospects and they have a solid management team and a solid plan, then then we may make the decision to invest in them.
So if you said we want to invest in you and we want to take a piece of the pie, how does that work?
Well, it depends on what the company is offering. So, part of our process is to try to be very collaborative and hopefully helpful to the company or the entrepreneur themselves, to make sure that they are accurately understanding what it is that they need in terms of raising money. Oftentimes, we're working with very early stage companies, and companies that may not have access to the traditional options of just going to a bank and getting a loan to help them buy equipment or get operating capital for their for their business. So we're trying to help them through that gap, sort of from this great idea that they have to start with, and they've got some so-called friends and family money that's helped them get started and maybe formulate the beginnings of a company, and we're trying to help fill the gap to get them to the point where they're ready to really work with more traditional funding, more commercial funding from a bank.
Well, do you have any success stories, examples that you like to sort of bring out and the family album when you're talking about this, and say this is an example of what we're doing?
Yes. One of our favorite investments is in a company called New Resource Solutions, and that is a company that was founded by two local Athens folks, Jeff Greenfield of Third Sun Solar and John Hazley, Remington Road Grip, and they created a company which is a solar finance company. That company puts together investors who want to invest in solar projects with the solar project themselves, so that you have third-party ownership, you have private ownership of this of the solar panels in the so-called commercial sector. These are the small and medium-sized solar projects. So this is, the reason why we like this so much is not just because it's a very successful company, has been able to establish itself, has put the solar project onto the Federal Hawking schools, and a number of other school systems where they're doing solar projects, which is fantastic for the community. But it is an excellent example, the best example that we found so far, of that non-extractive business model. So New Resource Solutions is able to find investors, which can be outside investors, outside money from outside of a particular region, that comes in and supports a local project to be done. that is done with local jobs using local local solar and installers to do a project on a on a local building, or supporting local businesses and schools and municipal buildings who are getting the benefit of that solar energy um, locally. And the market dynamics are such that the price of that solar, at least in the state of Ohio, is less. The price of that electricity that's generated is less than what you would have to pay for coal, um, uh, coal generated electricity. So that's one that we really like a lot.
Well, one of the things that I'm interested in is the idea of how you reach out to other areas in the region. Southeast Ohio is 1/4 of Ohio. So, do you have other projects that you have worked on, or how do you find those people in the other part of the region?
Well, we're particularly focused on southeastern Ohio, and so we're one of our criteria for making investments is that the company has to be based in or have a primary focus and impact on southeastern Ohio or Appalachian Ohio more broadly. So that's one of the ways that we are trying to be very focused with our investments.
Well, how do people find out about you? I mean, obviously there are people out there who think they've got a great idea, and they say, "Hey, I didn't even realize that Eli's willing to give me some cash, man."
So we work through. So we work. We work in close partnership with Ohio University and with a number of local and regional organizations like the Appalachian Funders Network to kind of be aware of what's going on out there. What new businesses are. That's sort of where our so-called pipeline comes from. We find out about business investment opportunities that are out there, because there are, like, for instance, through the Voinovich School at Ohio University, they're working with startup businesses as clients, and so they're helping to provide a lot of these services to help those businesses know what the right way to raise money is. And so we hear about the Voinovich folks are often key advisors to us, and they'll say we have this new business that you think you would be interested in, and would you be willing to hear a pitch from them? And we work together. We helped to form a local group which we call the Impact Innovation Group. That includes foundations, other impact investors, Ohio University, the Athens County Foundation for Appalachian Ohio, some family offices. We just kind of have come together kind of as a informal investment club to help each other be aware of opportunities to support local businesses in the region. So we don't advertise. We kind of selectively go out and find the investment opportunities or become aware of them through our networks.
Well, one of the things that I find I should say, I've learned in my past life when I was working with socially responsible investing and donors and things, is that there's a real challenge. There's a real challenge in the confidence level of many people who traditionally have made money and traditionally invested money, and moving them into thinking more broadly as you do. So I was wondering, what are some of the challenges you see in bringing these people together and trying to convince some other people in the region maybe to broadly support other things besides just financial gain?
I think the biggest challenge is figuring out how to navigate that combination of local desire. There's plenty of local desire to to do things that are socially responsible and environmentally responsible, particularly in southeastern Ohio. I think there's a really strong culture for that. But there's only a very limited pool of funds available, of people that have money that they're able to invest. So you necessarily have to be able to attract outside investment. And the trick is how to attract that outside investment without that outside investment being extractive. So we're literally trying to turn the traditional VC model on its head. The traditional venture capital model says that you invest in 10 companies, and 8 of them are going to fail. You hope 2 of them are Facebook, and you make a ton of money off of the two that are there.
I wouldn't use Facebook as a socially responsible investment there either.
Right? Yeah. No, that's totally not. Socially responsible doesn't factor into it at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So what it's about making money. Now, it may incidentally be socially responsible. So one, we're trying to introduce that we want it to be socially responsible, and we don't think that model is fundamentally socially responsible, because oftentimes what is required for the 2 companies that are going to be that are successful is, in order for them to be successful, they have to exit. They have to leave the region in order to sell the company, to make the money, to give the investors the return. So we want to invest in 10 companies, and two of them might fail, but we want eight of them to succeed. We don't need them to succeed at the level of Facebook, but we want them to succeed and figure out a way to grow and succeed and stay local and keep the jobs growing locally.
Yeah.
So this is a big challenge, but it's that's what's going to have to happen. Is you have to find ways to bring in outside investment capital without having that outside investment capital require that the primary benefits leave the region.
Well, Eli, I think all of this is a very noble goal, and of course we're pulling for you, all of us here at Blue Rock Station. So with that, I want to thank everybody. You have been listening to When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine with Jay and Annie Warmke. We want to thank our guest, Eli Flournoy. Thank you very much there, Eli.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
All right,
great to be here.
Thanks you. And we also want to thank our Emmy award-winning producer, Adam Rich. And we want to thank you all for spending just a little bit of time with us. And as your grandmother socially told you, the problem or the secret to a happy and sustainable life is
play nice with others, clean up your mess. And Eli, come visit us after the virus so you can see just how unsustainable people want to invest.
Right. And eat your vegetables. Till next time.
I know the stars are dancing in the firelight. Soon we'll be together, and all will be revealed. Mother Earth will sing, and her children will be healed. See the morning glory blossom in the night. I know the stars are dancing in the firelight. Soon we'll be together, and all will be revealed. Mother Earth will sing.
You can find more information on living sustainably in our unsustainable world at bluerockstation.com.